Part 108. Doomsday Special Forces. Author, Huanjing Chengzhu. Chapter 1071. Among the warships of the Buri tribe, each warship is driven by only 2 Buri tribesmen, and the rest are driven by robots. This is because the number of Bray tribesmen is quite small, and the total number of them is less than 10,000. Their family may be the strangest creatures on the original star. No matter how strange the other intelligent creatures are, they can at least be said to be humanoid creatures, with heads and limbs, and at most an extra tail. Regardless of body size, they basically have this shape. This is also the reason why the Buri people are self-isolated, and their reproductive capacity is quite low, because they are hermaphrodites, or in other words, their people have no gender distinction, and of course they cannot fall in love or form a family. The only way to reproduce is to divide. Even they themselves don't know how the Buri tribe came into being. They only know that when the Buri tribe came into being, they had less than 5,000 people, and they didn't seem to need to take in too many nutrients to survive. Go down. At that time, the creatures on the primitive star seemed to be in the stage of primitive society, and no other creatures were found around them where they were. As time went by, their intelligence became more and more developed, and they also discovered that every member of the Buri tribe could split into 2, but after the split, the 2 tribesmen could no longer split, whether it is the split one or the original body. Therefore, until now, the total number of Buri tribe members has not reached 10,000. It's just that there are gains and losses. Although they cannot reproduce, they have eternal life, and their consumption is extremely low. They can use their tentacles to draw nutrients directly from the soil like plants, and although his individual strength is quite poor, but he has extremely high intelligence. They can directly use their tentacles to decompose various minerals and extract various metals to make tools. They have already entered the technological society long before other intelligent races on the original star were still eating their hair and drinking their blood. However, after visiting the camps of various races around them, when they saw other races, they also realized that they were different. So, these Bri people simply hid in their own territory and used them. The manufactured robots served as helpers and built a magnificent city. Perhaps it is due to inferiority, or perhaps because their tribe is different from other races. If one dies, one will be permanently reduced. Therefore, their city is quite magnificent and has extremely strong defense. Moreover, many metal guards were placed on the outside to prevent other races from approaching their city. However, due to their advanced technology, although no race on the original star knew their names at all, they had a very detailed understanding of other races on the original star, because in addition to building their own cities, there is absolutely nothing to do. And because they can directly extract all kinds of metals and minerals they need from the map, even though the original star is becoming increasingly barren, the impact on the Bray people is minimal. And because the number of the race is too small, the Bri tribe has not developed outside. For them, the city on the original star that they have built for countless years is their most stable home. After entering the Endless Tower, the Bray people found that the city they had built for countless years had also entered with them. They were naturally relieved. However, after encountering Wang Feng's Yanhuang and losing 2 battleships, the Buri tribe began to feel a little panic, because this meant that 4 of their tribesmen had died. For other races, the death of a tribesman may be nothing, but for the Buri tribe, death is definitely the most terrifying thing. With the presence of the Buri tribe, they have died twice due to accidents in total. They were just members of the tribe, but after meeting the human race, 4 of their tribe members died in just a few minutes. This does not include the 2 that they don't know now, because those robots will only follow the orders of the Bray people seriously, so they will never do anything they are not told to do. This is also the purpose of the Buri tribe, to guard against these robots. Originally, they had made robots with artificial intelligence, which could complete many things independently. However, due to an accident, the robot with artificial intelligence accidentally, among them, a member of the Bree tribe was killed, which was the first member of the Bree tribe to die since the establishment of their city. This incident aroused fear among the Bree people, so they destroyed all the robots and remade the robots they are using now. This kind of robot has no artificial intelligence and only knows how to execute the orders issued by them. It will never make its own decisions. In the view of the Bree people, this should be the most suitable for a race like them, which is quite weak. But now, this directly resulted in that when Wang Feng entered their battleship and killed 2 of their tribesmen, they had no idea. Because at this time, the battleship where Wang Feng was still under the control of those robots launched an attack on the Yanhuang, and those robots did not take any action at all because of Wang Feng's intrusion, except for those who had received orders to attack the Yanhuang. Wang Feng attacks the robot guard. But because they were in their own warships, each warship had only 10 robots as guards. These 10 robots were the private guards of the 2 Bree people, and they did not belong to this warship. Because besides the Bree people, there were only those robots who obeyed orders 100%, so there was no need for guards. This was a guard, and it was only brought by the 2 Bree people on the warship to help them do some trivial things, such as helping them to look after their mechanical bodies, etc. The Bree people did not have much combat experience, so naturally they could not expect the robots they made to have such superb combat skills, especially after Wang Feng felt where the life energy that was the energy source of these robots came from. Things became even simpler. Using his Xianyuan sword, inserted into the bodies of these robots, and absorbed all the life energy that provided them with power, those robots became a pile of scrap metal. After that, Wang Feng did not stop his hands, but came to a robot operating the spacecraft, then put his hand on its shoulder and tried to give it a command, but got no response. It seems that these robots can only be controlled by that strange brain-like thing. Wang Feng thought to himself, and then suddenly a flash of inspiration came to him, and the robot in front of him suddenly disappeared. Wang Feng was overjoyed he could actually put the robot directly into his Xianyuan space. After thinking for a while, Wang Feng immediately understood that although these robots can move, they have no life. The life energy in their bodies is actually to provide them with power, which is not much different from batteries. Therefore, in theory, these robots are actually objects, and of course they can be put into the Xianyuan space. Wang Feng couldn't help but curse himself for being too stupid. He actually took the trouble to fight with these robots just now. It's just an idiot. However, after Wang Feng put the robot into his own space, he tried to command it, but found that the moment it was put into Xianyuan space, the life energy in its body was directly absorbed by Xianyuan space, and the robot naturally became a pile of scrap metal. Because these robots are not living beings, they naturally cannot preserve their own life energy in Xianyuan space that can absorb life energy. After this discovery, how could Wang Feng be polite? Just when he wanted to put all the robots in the control hall into Xianyuan space, he changed his mind and ignored these robots. Instead, he turned around and ran out of the control hall of the battleship quickly, and went around all the other places of the battleship. Wang Feng didn't know that there were only 2 people from the Buyui tribe in the battleship of the Buyui tribe, and the others were lifeless robots, so he had to confirm whether there were any other people from the Buyui tribe in other places of the battleship. Because Wang Feng's plan is to collect the entire battleship, of course, there can't be other members of the Buyui tribe in the battleship. When Xianyuan space collects intelligent creatures, if the creature resists in consciousness, it will lead to failure of collection, which will arouse the vigilance of the Buyui tribe. Once the other battleships are warned, he will lose such a good opportunity. And once his ability to teleport is exposed, the Buyui tribe will be on guard. Wang Feng's next breakthrough may not be so smooth, because the Buyui tribe can give orders to the robots and issue warnings immediately after seeing the human race. After a circle, Wang Feng did not find any members of the Buyui tribe. There were only some robots that might be responsible for repairing or maintaining the hull. They were busy, so he directly collected them all into his Xianyuan space at the fastest speed, and then returned to the control hall of the battleship. After returning to the hall, Wang Feng frowned. He wanted to collect this battleship directly into his Xianyuan space. At present, Wang Feng still has a biggest problem to solve. Doomsday Special Forces. Author, Huanjing Chengzhu. Chapter 1072. Because the energy shield of this battleship is still there, if Wang Feng wants to bring this battleship into his space, he must first cancel its energy shield. Otherwise, such a powerful energy fluctuation will occur once it enters Xianyuan space, which is very likely to cause instability in Xianyuan space. The current Xianyuan space is very important to Wang Feng and to humans. Even if there is a slight safety hazard, Wang Feng will never take risks. However, Wang Feng has never piloted this battleship before and doesn't know how to turn off the energy shield. Wang Feng looked at the robots in the hall and frowned. Suddenly he thought of something. He quickly walked to the robots and watched their operations, because Wang Feng suddenly thought that whether the battleship was moving or attacking, those robots that issue these instructions to the battleship need to constantly operate the console. But the energy shield is no longer needed. Now because Wang Feng killed 2 battleships and lost 4 tribesmen, the Buri tribe is now very careful. Each battleship maximizes its energy shield, so, the robot that controls the shield does not need to be operated at all now, so Wang Feng feels that as long as he sees which robot is in front of the console and there is no movement, that should be enough. But after Wang Feng looked around, he found that all the robots standing in front of the console seemed to be moving, constantly clicking various buttons on the console or moving the control levers. That's right. When I killed the 2 monsters before, it seemed that they also had a console there. Wang Feng's eyes suddenly lit up and he ran over quickly. However, when he saw a lot of colorful light spots below, Wang Feng couldn't help being a little dumbfounded. These light spots looked like the tentacles of the monsters he had killed. Yes, Wang Feng didn't know if his hair would work on them. And although the number of these light points is much less than that of human space battleships, there are at least 200 to 300. Which one controls the shield? Looking at Yan Huang, who was still being chased outside, Wang Feng gritted his teeth and lit the light spots below with his hair. He didn't know which one was which anyway, so he just clicked randomly. Wang Feng had just clicked a few times when a voice suddenly came from the console. Mbappe. What's going on? Wang Feng was startled, and at the same time he secretly thought something was wrong. It seemed that he had actually connected to the communicator with other battleships. Wasn't this bad luck? Those robots stayed there honestly, and he helped them warn other battleships. But this at least shows one thing: his hair, like the tentacles of the 2 monsters, can operate these light spots, and now that the communicator has been connected, no matter how Wang Feng reacts next, it is estimated that he would be exposed, so Wang Feng simply shouted. How to turn off the energy shield? Light up the dark blue light. The voice on the other side replied subconsciously, then immediately realized something was wrong and asked loudly. No. You are human. Where are Mbappe and Murian? Wang Feng almost laughed out loud when he heard what the guy said. However, he did not turn off the energy shield immediately. Instead, he flashed his body and quickly put away all the robots in the control hall while shouting loudly. Shouted. If you want them to survive, stop attacking our warships immediately. Perhaps it is because the number of Buri clan members is too small, so every clan member is cherished by them. Therefore, after hearing Wang Feng's words, the Buri clan warships that were chasing the Yanhuang actually stopped. Attack. Wang Feng couldn't help but be stunned. In fact, he didn't have any hope for what he said. He just wanted to distract the other party so that they would not attack the battleship he was on immediately. Unexpectedly, the Buri tribe actually the attack really stopped. But, their 2 Mu clan members have been killed by him, so it is impossible to return them to them. However, Wang Feng does not have a big psychological burden on his enemies who have deceived him. At least, looking at this kind of enemy who looks like a brain, Wang Feng doesn't think he should be honest with them. Although the Buri clan members stopped attacking, Wang Feng's actions did not stop at all. He took all the robots into Xianyuan space. He had kept these robots before and let them continue to operate the battleship because he was afraid that the battleship would suddenly stop. Other enemies saw the flaw, and now that he has been exposed, of course he no longer has such scruples. After collecting the robot, Wang Feng quickly came to the console where he killed the 2 monsters, then raised his hair and pointed at the dark blue lights below. Among the hundreds of light spots below, there are more than a dozen dark blue ones. Now Wang Feng feels that he is not suitable to ask the person who just spoke over there which dark blue light spot he should light. And even if he said it, Wang Feng probably wouldn't really dare to believe it, so he simply clicked on them all. After all the dark blue light spots under Wang Feng's point, the energy shield of the battleship, which was floating and stagnant in the air because the robot was taken away, suddenly disappeared. Wang Feng's shield disappeared. In an instant, he suddenly appeared below the battleship, and then directly took the battleship into his Xianyuan space. At the same time, he took out a small fighter plane, teleported in, and then drove the fighter plane to chase the Yanhuang. Although Luo Yaxing in the Yanhuang was a little baffled that the warships behind him suddenly stopped attacking, he did not receive any notification from Wang Feng, so he simply ignored them and continued flying towards the defensive fortress at full speed. When Wang Feng put away the battleship and took out the small fighter, Luo Yaxing and the others immediately discovered Wang Feng's small fighter on their radar. What to do? Luo Yaxing asked immediately, because now the Yanhuang was moving at full speed, and with the speed of a small fighter plane, it could not catch up with the Yanhuang, so Luo Yaxing didn't know whether he should wait for Wang Feng. Because Wang Feng must be among the small fighters now, that is to say, Wang Feng should be able to talk to them, but Luo Yaxing doesn't know whether those warships will block the signals of the small fighters. Well, how about, slow down a little and wait a minute. Hu Tao and Wei Jiake hesitated for a moment and said uncertainly. If it were someone else, they would definitely wait. Anyway, Wang Feng had already said it, leaving them enough energy to retreat to the defensive fortress. Even if they were delayed, it won't be a big problem for a while. But the person in that small fighter plane now is Wang Feng. In their hearts, even Wang Feng who is driving a small fighter plane should be more powerful than them, so the 3 of them are not sure. At this moment, the communicator suddenly sounded, and Wang Feng's voice came over. Don't worry about me. Keep going. Evacuate at maximum speed. Because of the threat just now, the enemy warships not only stopped attacking, but also slowed down. So now the Yanhuang is almost out of the range of their warships. Once it slows down and waits for itself, it will definitely be attacked by those warships again. Even if the battleship catches up, even if it can escape in the end, it will consume a lot of energy. Now that he has put away the battleship, other enemy ships will definitely not have any scruples anymore, so they will really escape next, so Wang Feng cannot slow down the Yanhuang at this time. After hearing Wang Feng's words, Luo Yaxing didn't hesitate at all and drove the Yanhuang forward without worrying about Wang Feng. After Wang Feng accidentally touched the communicator and asked how to turn off the shield, all the other warships knew that at least one human race had infiltrated one of their warships in some unknown way, and that a battleship has naturally become the target of their focus, and several battleships have even surrounded it. Therefore, after Wang Feng put away the battleship, the brave people among the battleships all saw a scene that surprised them. The battleship on their side that had been infiltrated by humans magically disappeared and was replaced by, but it was a small human fighter plane, exactly the same as what they had seen before. However, These Buri people did not immediately attack the small fighter plane because they thought that the two members of their tribe were still alive. It was a coincidence that they thought that their tribesmen were still alive precisely because Wang Feng accidentally touched the plane just now. Communicator. Because according to their intelligence analysis, no matter how stupid the humans who sneaked into their battleships were, they would not be able to turn on the communicator themselves. It would be simply too stupid to ask them how to turn off the energy shield. Therefore, they all believed that it should be theirs. The two tribesmen quietly turned on the communicator, wanting to warn them. In the end, because they took the initiative to speak out, this was exposed, so their people should still be alive now, and were taken into a certain space by that human being along with their battleship. Although the technological level of the Buri people is quite high, space technology is still a restricted area for them, because the properties of space cannot be discovered by separating the soil, so of course they don't know. If they want to collect Wang Feng's space, if you want to enter an intelligent creature, you must obtain consent, or the creature has died and lost its vitality. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Doomsday Special Forces. Author, Huanjing Chengzhu. Chapter 1073. In this way, due to a misunderstanding, the Buri people turned against Wang Feng's small fighter plane and did not attack him for a while. Of course, Wang Feng would not miss this opportunity and drove the small fighter plane to chase the Yanhuang closely. What do we do? The members of the Buri tribe communicated with each other through the communicator. There was no clear leader among the Buri tribe. No matter what happened to them, the whole tribe discussed it together. However, this gave Wang Feng a chance to escape, and the battleships of the Buri tribe still followed Wang Feng's small fighter planes and flew towards the human base. Most of the resources of the Buri tribe were used to build their city, because they had no ambitions and wanted to expand outwards, especially since they only had less than 10,000 tribesmen in total. Their city is already too big for them. Therefore, there are not many such warships of the Buri tribe, and all of them are of this type. There are no larger ones. In the past, these warships were used by them as reconnaissance aircraft. So now these battleships are all their aircraft. Now seeing that the Yanhuang and the small fighter plane are all preparing to flee, the Bray people don't know what they should do. They rarely interact with other races, so naturally they have no experience in this area. They can only follow Wang Feng and others while discussing how to rescue their companions. In fact, they also know that the human race's goal at this level is the same as theirs, which is to kill people. However, the human race wants to kill them, and they need to kill the human race. Therefore, if their people fall into the hands of humans, it is estimated that it will be difficult to get them back, because there is no room for peace between them. Either the humans will die 60%, or they will die 40%, there is no third way to go. But 40% of the population, for the Buri tribe, is nearly 4,000 tribesmen. This is completely unacceptable to them. Even if a few people die, the Buri tribe will be shaken up and down, let alone thousands of deaths. Therefore, the Buri tribe will never compromise, and the human race will naturally not compromise. For them, failure will have an even worse outcome. It's terrible, because that would be to directly wipe them all out, and the human race would be exterminated. Therefore, there must be a battle between humans and the Bri tribe. The Bri tribe also knows this, so their final result is to negotiate terms with the humans first to see how they can save their two tribesmen. This stop they have already lost 4 clansmen and cannot afford to die anymore. At worst, after rescuing the people, the Bray people will hide in the city and never come out again. Anyway, they don't believe that relying on the strength of the human race can break through their city. So, the Buri people followed Wang Feng and the others all the way to the location of the human race's defensive fortress. Their actions also made Wang Feng and the others feel very strange, because any race would not just because the two tribesmen were caught by them, they stopped attacking them. Could it be that the two monsters I killed were their leaders? Wang Feng thought to himself that now he could only think of this possibility, because he had no idea that the population base of the Buri tribe did not even reach 10,000. There was not another one in the original star. The race is so small that even the wild boars, who have always been exploited as food and worked hard, have never had a population less than 100,000. After returning to the defensive fortress, Wang Feng first threw the battleship and all the robots that he had put away, including the corpses of the two Buri tribesmen, to the Academy of Sciences headed by Gu Changsheng, although they were not needed now. We are studying the genes of zombies, but there is still an Academy of Sciences, which contains scientific and technological talents in various fields. Afterwards, Wang Feng asked Wei Jiake to take Hu Tao to rest, while Luo Yaxing followed him to the central control hall of the defensive fortress. However, they did not immediately tell Duan Lei and the others what happened before, because now the Buri people has followed, and is just outside the defensive fortress. Crazy. They sent a robot over. As soon as Wang Feng brought Luo Yaxing to the central control hall, Duan Lei said, and then pointed to the big screen. Outside the defensive fortress, there was a robot standing. It was completely different from the robots that Wang Feng had put away before. There is no difference. Of course, the Buri people would not let their own people personally take risks and enter the human race's fortress. Therefore, after discovering the human race's defensive fortress, they stopped far away and directly sent a robot with their communicator. Came to the human race. I'll go out and take a look. Wang Feng thought for a while and said, he didn't dare to let this robot in. Who knows if there might be any conspiracy here, so it's better to go out by yourself, especially since the other party only sent a robot, and there was something going on outside. Wang Feng can directly put it into his Xianyuan space. When Wang Feng went out, the robot didn't say anything. He just handed the communication in his hand to Wang Feng, and then turned around and left. The people of the Buri tribe had called countless times before for the ship that had been taken away. Battleship, but got no response, hence the idea. What race are you? Wang Feng picked up the communicator, and the first thing he said was to ask the name of the other party's race. Don't fight for a long time, he doesn't even know the name of his enemy. We are the Bri. A voice came from the communicator, also using the lingua franca of the primitive star. This lingua franca seems to be mastered by every race from birth, so on the primitive star, language communication is definitely not a problem. The two people I captured are your leaders. Wang Feng continued to ask, because at this time he also opened his personal terminal, so although he was talking to the Buri people outside, Duan Lei and the others could also hear their voices. When the other party said the name of their race, neither Dong Huangtai nor Fuxi made a sound. Wang Feng understood what the Buri tribe was. It seemed that even the human race had never heard of it, so he stopped worrying about it. The other person's race. Leader. The other party's voice seemed a little confused, because among the Buri tribe, there is no such position as a leader. Basically, every member of the tribe is equal. There is no one who rules whom, and there is no level of status, so of course there is no leader. Yes, but they do know the meaning of the word leader. No. There is no so-called leader in our Bray tribe. We are all the same. Why should we distinguish between superior and inferior? The two people you captured are our ordinary tribesmen. The voice explained. No leader? Wang Feng asked with some confusion. This system is difficult for Wang Feng, who was born as a soldier, to understand. At least, if there is no leader, then who will take command when fighting with other races? It is hard to imagine that an army without a commander can work together to win a war. But of course he didn't know that the Bri tribe had almost never had a war with any race. Although some races tried to attack their city, they were basically repelled by their robot army. After gaining strength, no race would be willing to provoke them anymore. So even without a leader, the Bray tribe has continued the race safely until now, until they entered this endless tower. As for the last endless tower, whether the Bray tribe existed or not is not even in their memory. It is estimated that no other creature except the controller knows this kind of information. Since they are just your ordinary people, why do you still have to save them? Wang Feng asked. Obviously, Wang Feng thought that the guys on the opposite side were lying to him, because he was afraid that if he knew that there was their leader among these two people, he would directly kill their leader. As for him, he had already killed those two. If it falls, those guys on the opposite side will naturally not know. The number of our tribe is very small, less than 10,000 people in total. The Buri people opposite are very honest, probably because they have not had much contact with the outside world, and there is no deception among them, so this guy directly told the truth. So, every one of our clan members is very important to us. We have already lost 4 people in the previous battle with you, and we cannot lose more. You have less than 10,000 people. Wang Feng asked in surprise. Yes. Our race is very special. We don't age, we don't die, and we have endless life. But we also can't reproduce, so if we die, we will lose one. The other party answered honestly, and then immediately asked. What conditions do you need to return our people to us? Give it back to you. I'm sorry. We can't return your people to you. Wang Feng said. You should know the rules in the Endless Tower. We, the human race, must reduce you, the Bray tribe, right? We must reduce your number to less than 60%, which means that at least 4,000 of you will die. People, we can move to the next level. But, can you not go down? The Buri people said. We feel that there is a big loophole in this endless road. You can take advantage of it. Big loophole. Wang Feng was stunned. He didn't know that there was a loophole in the endless road. Doomsday Special Forces. Author, Huanjing Chengzhu. Chapter 1074. That's right. That's time. The Bri tribe continued. When we entered here, we did get the message and told us the conditions for our victory, but we didn't hear about the time limit. So, as long as you release our people, we promise not to attack you, and you can live here. Anyway, there is nothing on the original star, which is almost the same as here. If you don't have enough resources, we can still support you. In short, our two tribes can live here forever without interfering with each other. Isn't this good? There is no difference from the original star, right? Hearing the words of the Bri tribe, Wang Feng was stunned. Why didn't he think that there was such a big loophole in the endless road? All along, they have been considering how to reduce the number of the Guardian race and complete their human race's tasks so as to enter the next level, but no one has ever proposed that there is no limit on the time to complete the task. What the people of the Bure tribe said was indeed a method. The environment here is indeed similar to the original star, with nothing there. But did Wang Feng and his people bring enough supplies? Even if they don't have to go outside to reclaim wasteland and grow food, they can be self-sufficient just by relying on the defensive fortress transformed by the goblins. Could it be, this is a way to break the deadlock? Wang Feng thought in his heart, and then he said directly to the communicator. Wait a minute, let's discuss it. Hearing Wang Feng's words, the people of the Bure tribe were also happy, because since Wang Feng said so, it means that he will consider his suggestions. If adopted, it will be a great thing for the Bure tribe. What the Bure tribe said just now is right. For them, this place is indeed the same as the original star, and even safer than the original star. As for the materials they need, as long as there is soil, the Bure tribe can develop. This is determined by their racial talent. The racial talent of the human race is their hair, while the racial talent of the Bree people is their tentacles. Their tentacles not only have the function of human hair, but also have the ability to extract various elements from the soil, so that they can survive as long as there is soil. After staying in the Endless Tower for 20 years, they have long discovered that this space is vast and boundless. At least they have not seen the end of this space. Therefore, this place is a blessed land for them. If there were no human beings, it would be even more perfect. Even if there is one more human being now, they can accept it, and are even willing to supply some materials to the human race. As long as both sides can maintain friendship, it is enough for them. At first, they planned to rely on their own technology to eliminate the human race, because the voice did not say what they would get after they successfully eliminated more than 60% of the human race and completed the guarding mission. Therefore, they just thought that if they guarded this space, then this space would be theirs, and no one would disturb it from then on. This is exactly their ideal paradise. It has to be said that because they rarely come into contact with the outside world, the people of the Burui tribe are still simple no matter how smart they are, and they like to live in their ideal world. Just like now, after Wang Feng said that he would consider it, they thought that the human race should accept their conditions, and then both sides lived in this space in a friendly and neighborly manner. Because they are afraid of death, they also think that the human race is the same. This may be the so-called summer insects cannot talk about ice, right? After carefully looking at the communicator in his hand and putting it into Xianyuan space, Wang Feng returned to the defense fortress. He didn't really want to consider the conditions proposed by the Burui tribe, but wanted to discuss with Duan Lei and others whether there was any other intention to leave such a loophole in the endless road. If not, Wang Feng would not choose to stay here. Although the human race's defense fortress can make them self-sufficient, the environment here is too bad and is not suitable for human survival. If it is just to linger on, Wang Feng feels that such a life is completely unnecessary. It is better to fight. Everyone. Did you hear what that guy said? Wang Feng asked directly after returning to the central control hall. Why is there such a loophole in the endless road? There is no time set for us to complete the task. Can we live here if we keep dragging it on? Crazy. You don't want to live in this kind of ghost place for the rest of your life, do you? Tang Haoshan asked with a pout. Of course not. Wang Feng shook his head and said. I'm wondering if there is any mystery in this. For a long time, Wang Feng has had a thorn in his heart, that is the Kali tribe. Although the Kali tribe launched the world-destroying skyfire on Atlantis, causing Wang Feng and his family's homeland to enter the end of the world directly, but to be honest, the Kali tribe saved the human race on Atlantis. If it weren't for them, the human race on Atlantis would not have been able to improve their strength at all, and there would be no apocalypse, and of course the Hope Base would not have been established. But the Cosmic Ghost and the Devourer will definitely find them. Even if they don't appear in their generation, they will definitely appear at some time in the future, regardless of whether the Kali tribe moves towards their planet or not. Because the mission of the Devourer is to find the human race, and the Cosmic Ghost is trying every possible means to destroy all the human race's inheritance in the outside world. If Atlantis had not experienced the end of the world, and humans had not gradually become stronger in the suffering and trials of the end of the world, then when the Devourer and the Cosmic Ghost appeared on their planet, they would have been treated as nothing more than to be slaughtered. Lamb. Especially Xiaomi San Xiao, who helped a lot when the Hope Base was first established, not to mention the Kali tribe's light transmission system, and also saved Wang Feng's life. If Wang Feng had died in equation with the 2 missiles launched, I don't know if the human race can still enter the Endless Tower. Or, even if you enter the Endless Tower, you will only play the role of a guardian, staying on your own level, waiting for the slaughter of other races. Not to mention anything else, just look at the fact that after entering the Endless Tower, The strongest combat force of the human race is the Hope Expeditionary Army, composed of the former human race of Atlantis. It can be seen that it was originally brought to Asia by the Kali tribe. How important is the Apocalypse dagger of Atlantis to the human race? Because the predecessor of the Hope Expeditionary Force was the Hope Base and the soldiers guarding the two legions. They all grew up from the initial strengthening potion to the evolution potion, accompanied by countless battles. Without them, just relying on the human race on the original star and the mother star, I am afraid that they would not be able to survive on the first level. The goblins will encounter failure. Therefore, in a sense, the Kali tribe is the benefactor of the entire human race. Because of them, the human race has been able to get here all the way. But here, the Kali tribe is destined to become the enemy of the human race. To make a race stronger and then kill its own people is something that the blue-eyed old man of the Kali tribe would never imagine. However, even if there is no human race, there will be other races to open the endless road. The only difference is that it's just time. However, Wang Feng felt that when he really saw the Kali tribe, he would definitely not be able to take action against them. But now, things seem to have turned around. It stands to reason that there should be no loopholes in the endless road, because there are very few rules in the endless road, and the fewer the rules, the less loopholes there will be. But the fact that there is no time limit is indeed a big loophole, because Wang Feng already knows from the controller that the endless road has been opened many times. If they really don't leave this time, they will stay forever. If they continue to live here, they will not go down, and they will not be able to judge failure. So what will they do? Duanlei lowered his head and pondered. He also knew that Wang Feng's thoughts were for the Kali tribe, but no matter how Duanlei thought, he could not imagine the significance of this loophole. Dong Huangtai and Fu 11 are also thinking. They also know that this place is indeed not suitable for human survival, but if this can allow the human race to continue, it is not unacceptable to the two of them. Maybe, this is not a loophole. Duanlei suddenly said. The vast majority of our human race are ordinary people. Their lifespan. If it is delayed for too long, when they die naturally, they will also be included in the death toll. Although we can use fertility methods to make up for these deaths. The number of deaths, but... Duanlei raised his head and looked at Wang Feng. What the rules say is that the number of deaths exceeds 60% of the total number of people who entered the endless road. In other words, this number is based on the number of people we entered the endless road. Then as long as the number of people we die exceeds this number will be judged as failure. Although you can use life energy to enhance the strength of the human race, but, there is no place for you to replenish life energy here. Therefore, although this loophole can be said to exist, we can't use it at all. Maybe it takes 100 years, but to those creatures, 100 years may be just a blink of an eye, and they won't care at all. Sorry. Your proposal, we reject it. Hearing Duanlei's words, Wang Feng sighed, then took out his communicator and said inside. Doomsday Special Forces. Author, Huanjing Chengzhu. Chapter 1075. Why? The voices of the Bri tribe sounded very surprised. They seemed not to understand why the humans would refuse such a way to get the best of both worlds and make everyone happy. Because we humans only have less than 100 years to live. Wang Feng said, with some sadness in his tone. Although he was not included in these humans who could only live for 100 years, he suddenly felt strange in his heart. Among the human race, those who have not awakened their human talent account for the vast majority, more than 90%. If these people follow them, they can successfully pass the endless road and climb to the top of the endless tower, but does this mean anything to them? The endless road is so long. Perhaps by the time they successfully reach the top, some people will have already entered their twilight years. Is it really that important to them whether they can reach the top of the endless tower? Perhaps, if they were the ones who could make the choice today, they would choose to agree to the Buri tribe's suggestion, stay here, and spend the rest of their lives in peace with them. Anyway, it would only be 100 years, so why bother? That. The Bray people obviously did not expect that the life of the human race is so short, because the intelligent races on the primitive star all have very long lives, and the worst ones have at least 10,000 years of life. How do they know that the current human race is no longer the original human race? After losing their racial talents, the lifespan of the human race has shrunk sharply. For those ordinary people, 100 years is already equivalent to a lifetime. Okay. You don't need to say anything. Let's start the war. We have to pass this level. In addition, the 2 members of your clan were killed by me when I entered your battleship. Wang Feng was not in a very good mood right now, so he stopped nagging the Buri people and told the truth directly. Since they were going to fight after all, it would be better to just be a little more straightforward. After hearing Wang Feng's words, the Buri people seemed very angry, and they began to condemn Wang Feng and humans one after another. However, their vocabulary was obviously very poor. Apart from the fact that humans are despicable and humans are liars, they basically had no other tricks. Hearing their curses, Wang Feng became angry and teleported out directly, driving the Yanhuang and rushing forward. Duan Lei was shocked when he saw it, and immediately pressed the emergency alarm. Then, whether it was Tang Haoshan or the others, the Hope Expeditionary Force all boarded their space battleships and small fighter planes as quickly as possible, and then flew out of the defensive fortress, preparing to join the battle. The mood of the Buri tribe could be described as ups and downs before. They originally thought that they could successfully rescue their own tribe, and then reach an agreement with the human race and sign a bilateral friendship treaty, and then they could live a leisurely life in this paradise. But they didn't expect that the ending would turn out like this in the blink of an eye. When they saw the Yanhuang driven by Wang Feng rushing out, these Buri people also became angry. It's obvious that you are unreasonable, why do you still act like one? Angry look. The naive Bray people felt that they were wronged, but they did not expect that after entering the Endless Tower, they had become enemies from the moment they met the human race. This has nothing to do with right or wrong, nor justice and evil. The difference is that both of them are just trying to survive. When Wang Feng drove the Yanhuang and attacked the Buri tribe, the people of the Buri tribe were also aroused. One of them felt that they had been deceived, and the other naturally felt that Wang Feng said that their tribe he had been killed a long time ago because he was lying to them. He must have killed his own people after they felt that the method he recommended was not good. The Buri people have no scheming and are afraid of death, but this does not mean that they have no temper. So, a somewhat inexplicable battle started in a confused manner. Wang Feng didn't show any stinginess this time. He had been worried about the Kali tribe before, but now it finally broke out after the hope that there would be a turnaround was shattered. Turning on the energy shield with all his strength, he dodges the attacks of the breeze while looking for fighters. Once he seizes the opportunity, Wang Feng will focus on a warship and beat it to death. Basically, 2 focused fires can kill 1. The battleship of the Bri tribe. After Wang Feng destroyed 3 Bri battleships, reinforcements from the human race also arrived. 7 space battleships joined at the same time, making the Bri tribe who were originally preparing to fight the human race finally wake up. They didn't expect that the human race actually had space technology. Otherwise, how could there be so many such huge warships hidden in that defensive fortress? Could it be that when the human race said that they would consider their suggestions, they were simply deceiving them? In fact, they were preparing battleships to keep them all here? At this time, the disadvantage of not having a unified wisdom appeared. It was okay when we besieged Luo Yaxing or Wang Feng before, because we were outnumbered and we didn't need anyone to command at all. We swarmed up and beat them to death. But it won't work now. The human space battleships almost flew out of the defensive fortress, and at the same time, there were a large group of small fighters rushing towards them. Some of the Bri people felt that they should escape, and some felt that they should continue to fight, and they all expressed it directly with their own battleships. Those who want to retreat will directly turn around the battleship and run towards the way they came from, while those who want to fight should directly charge forward and rush towards the group of small fighters. The big ones have shields, but the small ones always don't, right? At least you should kill 2 human tribes first, avenge your own tribe, and then go back. Therefore, at the moment of the battle, the battleships of the Bree tribe were actually divided into 2 parts. A small part rushed up directly, and most of the other battleships turned around and ran away. Later, the Buri people themselves also discovered that they did not seem to have a unified opinion, but the human race came suddenly, and they had no time to make a decision, because before they thought that the human race would compromise, they did not discuss what would happen if a battle broke out. If we decide now, there is obviously no time left. We can't let this large number of battleships hold a pre-war meeting while staring at the human race's attack, right? However, more chaotic things are yet to come, because the Buri tribe is a very united race, otherwise they would not have been able to develop to the state without a unified leadership at all. Therefore, the warships that were preparing to evacuate immediately turned around and came back to rescue them after seeing that their tribesmen were rushing towards the human race. And those warships that were rushing towards the human race happened to all choose to return. Therefore, all of a sudden, the Bray tribe's formation it became a mess. Almost all the Bray people don't know whether they should retreat immediately or fight with the humans. In fact, according to the current strength of the Bray tribe, they can still fight with the human race. After all, the human race's space battleships are less than double digits, and although their warships are small, they number nearly 100, and their performance is equivalent. Superiority, and the defensive fortress, the great weapon of the human race, did not join the battle. If one member of the Buri tribe can stand up at this time, even if he shouts so loudly, whether it is fighting or retreating, it is estimated that other Buri tribe members will immediately follow his orders. Then this battle, they still have a chance to fight. The Buri tribe naturally has their own battle formation, so whether they are fighting or evacuating, as long as their actions are unified, things will turn around. Whether they are fighting together or retreating together, they at least know what they should do. But the problem is that these Buri tribe members have no such awareness at all. They are all waiting for someone to make a decision, whether to fight or retreat. No one has ever thought of standing up and making this decision. As a result, the warships that had just returned found that the warships that had rushed forward had begun to retreat, while the warships that were just about to retreat found that their tribesmen had come back to fight. They were confused whether they should fight or retreat, so they simply chose a battleship started to fight, and at least he had something to do. In fact, they all want to retreat quickly now, even the pilots of the battleships who rushed forward because of the surge of blood, but now seeing other battleships fighting, they can't retreat themselves, so they have to bite the bullet and start this melee. The warships and fighter planes of the human race naturally have clear targets. They are here to fight. Especially after I heard that the Buri tribe has very few people, less than 10,000. Calculated in proportion, it is less than 4,000. This among the nearly 100 battleships, even if there are only 2 people in each, if they all stay, it will be considered that nearly 1/20th of the mission has been completed. Since they already knew that the opponent's shield was strong, Tang Haoshan and Lu Feng focused their 2 warships on one of the other's ships together. However, since the Bray warships were still in chaos, they could not attack the human warships at all. Forming an effective blow, the battle turned into a one-sided situation from the very beginning. After losing more than 20 warships, the Bray tribe finally began to stabilize. Because they had lost so many warships, and they were now mixed with the human race, it was basically difficult to evacuate. Now that they have arrived, they can only grit their teeth and fight hard. However, after everyone decided to fight, the situation of the war was brought back a little by the Bray tribe. The originally swaying and confused Bree tribe seemed to have suddenly found the target. The warships finally stopped flying back and forth and began to move consciously. Convergence, slowly gathering together. At this time, due to the recovery of the Bree tribe, the human race finally began to suffer casualties. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Doomsday Special Forces. Author, Huanjing Chengzhu. Chapter 1076. Because although the warships of the Buri tribe are small in size, their energy shields are quite powerful, and the performance of the warships is also very good, and their flexibility can even catch up with small fighter planes. Therefore, when these tribesmen of the Buri tribe truly enter a state of war, the battlefield, the small fighter aircraft on board felt a lot of pressure. As the explosions continued, more than a dozen small fighter planes were destroyed by the Bray warships. The pilots of these small fighter planes were both soldiers from the Hope Expeditionary Force and new humans from the original Star. Needless to say, the soldiers of the Hope Expeditionary Force naturally have no need to say much. Since they have been exposed to small fighters relatively early, they have not only practiced a lot, but also experienced countless battles. Therefore, they seem to be able to do it at this time, even though the stream of light emitted by the Bray warship is very fast. Fast, but with preparations already made, especially during the previous period of chaos among the Bray warships, the Hope Expeditionary Force had a process of adapting to their battle rhythm, so the Hope Expeditionary Force did not appear at this moment. Casualties. But the same cannot be said for the new humans from the Primordial Star. Although there were originally small fighters on the Primordial Star, due to lack of resources, the frequency of small fighter aircraft dispatches was quite low, so not many people were exposed to small fighters. In addition, there are very few wars on the Primordial Star. Therefore, although these new humans on the Primordial Star are very powerful and have always retained the talents of the human race, they are much more comfortable in using air than the Hope Expeditionary Force. But in this aspect of flying fighter planes to fight, it is far inferior. In particular, they are flying small, super-fast fighter planes. During the battle, if they hesitate even a little bit, they may be destroyed. There are even several small fighters that directly collide with the battleships of the Buri tribe. Crash. Although this can also cause losses to the Buri warships, this is definitely not Wang Feng's favorite method of attack. Therefore, after seeing a dozen small fighter planes crashing, he immediately ordered that in addition to the Hope Expeditionary Force, except, all other combatants withdraw from the battlefield. Although this order is to reduce the losses of those new humans, it is undoubtedly a humiliation for the soldiers. However, because they are currently fighting, the new human pilots from the 2nd Legion do not dare to disobey the order. All return to their motherships or defensive fortresses. In fact, the original purpose of joining the small fighters was to interfere with the Bray warships. Because of the existence of their shields, the small fighters were basically unable to cause real damage to them unless they directly collided with them in a way that they would both perish. Therefore, the main output of this battle is still provided by those space battleships. After the new humans of the Primordial Star retreated, since more than half of the small fighters were missing on the battlefield, it suddenly seemed much emptier. But in this way, the soldiers of the Hope Expeditionary Force became more active. Many of the Hope Expeditionary Force even acted as if they wanted to directly ram the Buri warships, and rushed directly to the Buri warships. After entering their energy shield, they directly turned around and flew close to their ship within the energy shield, causing the stream of light directed at them to be absorbed by the Bray battleship, consuming their own inseparable energy. Less energy. The new human warriors of the Primordial Star who were originally forced to withdraw were still a little aggrieved, but when they saw this scene, they began to feel ashamed. They suddenly discovered that without them, the humans on the battlefield had more control. Initiative. especially those who hope that the ultra-fast reactions and flexible adaptability of the Expeditionary Force soldiers on the battlefield make them feel that they are not even the slightest bit different from the Expeditionary Force soldiers known as the strongest legion of the human race. You don't have to blame yourself too much. Seeing the expressions of these new humans, Doomsday, who was also staying in the defensive fortress, chuckled. In the endless tower we passed through before, small fighter planes only appeared as reconnaissance aircraft and did not participate in the battle. Therefore, you have never had the opportunity to participate in air combat. As soldiers, you should know that only in the real battlefield only then can soldiers grow. There is indeed a gap between you and the Hope Expeditionary Force. However, this gap is not due to your personal reasons, but because you grew up in a different environment than the Hope Expeditionary Force. The Hope Expeditionary Army, starting from the earliest Guardian Legion and Hope Legion, has come step by step to today. It has become this absolutely elite warrior after experiencing countless battles and countless baptisms of blood and fire. Like this. Many of them have not been able to make it here. Instead, they have turned into names and strings of numbers. They can only become our memories. These warriors who are still alive in the waves are washed away by the waves. Now I still have an almost instinctive intuition about danger, so I can survive every battle. You see them now as being very powerful and beautiful, but you don't know that if possible, none of us would want to become like this, because every appearance of such a warrior represents the existence of 2 more than 3 compatriots who fought alongside him fell on the way forward. That's right. Fuchsie also sighed. At the beginning, when they experienced their first air battle, I was with them. At that time, they were similar to you now, and the opponent was the Space Ghost, and the battlefield was also in the universe. At the beginning, they were called the Hope Legion. In that battle, we lost too many soldiers. Their fighting power was exchanged for blood and life. Hearing the words of Doomsday and Fuchsie, the new humans of the original star looked at the Hope Expeditionary Force again, and their eyes were no longer envy and jealousy, but respect. Although the Buyui people returned to the state of war after the battle, they had lost too many tribesmen before, and the Buyui people were afraid of death. Moreover, this was the first time in their history that they experienced the death of so many tribesmen. Therefore, the Buyui people could not exert their full strength at this time. When there were only a dozen or so warships left on the battlefield, another member of the Bree tribe finally shouted in fear on the communicator. "Stop fighting. If we continue, we will all die here. Retreat." After saying this, the Bree tribe member who shouted did not care about the others at all. He directly manipulated his warship to turn around and fled the battlefield, flying towards the direction of their city. With him taking the lead, the other Bree warships also began to evacuate. However, 4 warships that were surrounded by the human race failed to escape successfully and were directly destroyed in the air, exploding with brilliant sparks. After this battle, the human race counted that, together with the 2 warships destroyed by Wang Feng before and the warship captured, the human race destroyed a total of 87 Bree warships. If there were 2 Bree people in each warship, that would mean that 174 enemies were killed. Although this was considered a victory in the first battle, the number of enemies killed was obviously much less than their mission, and the human race also lost more than a dozen new humans in this battle. After seeing the battleship of the Bure tribe escape, Wang Feng did not give up. He teleported out of the Yanhuang directly, put it away, and changed to a small fighter to chase after it. At the same time, he shouted in the communicator. "You all stay, clean up the battlefield, and then reorganize the team and select a group of air combat fighters. I will go to explore where their nest is first. You wait for my news. After finding their nest, we will directly destroy their nest." After this battle, Wang Feng's depression did not seem to be completely vented. It seems that he wants to solve the Bure tribe on this level as soon as possible and go to the next level as soon as possible. Since the radar of the party could not detect the warships of the Buryui tribe in advance, Wang Feng decided to find the nest of the Buryui tribe by himself this time. It happened that their warships were leading the way. Although the speed of the small fighter planes could not catch up with the warships of the Buryui tribe, it was not so easy for the Buryui tribe to get rid of Wang Feng's small fighter planes because they were in the air and Wang Feng's sky eye. In addition, when those warships retreated, they all fled directly in one direction without hesitation. Wang Feng could basically conclude that the nest of the Buryui tribe was in that direction. Tang Haoshan and others who originally wanted to chase together stopped directly after hearing Wang Feng's order, and then landed and began to clean up the battlefield. Although the destroyed warships could not remain intact, and some of the warships that were hit by concentrated fire were broken into pieces, the warship fragments on the ground should still be useful, especially the warships of the Buryui tribe looked very good, so of course they had to collect these metals. There are basically no resources in the Endless Tower. Except for the Bree tribe, other races can basically rely on their own previous resource reserves. They are cleaning up the battlefield here, while Wang Feng is staring at the fleeing warships of the Bree tribe and following them closely. The Bree tribe does not seem to have any means of anti-tracking, or they think that in this endless tower, no matter how they hide, the human race will eventually find them. In addition, the Bree people have great confidence in the city they have built with all their strength, so they ignored Wang Feng, the tail hanging behind them, and flew straight all the way to their own city. Doomsday Special Forces. Author, Huanjing Chengzhu. Chapter 1077. When the city of the Buri tribe appeared in Wang Feng's sight, Wang Feng couldn't help but take a breath of air. Didn't the Buri tribe say that they only have less than 10,000 members? How could there be such a big city? Not to mention the 10,000 little Bree people, this city is enough to house a billion people just looking at the above ground part. At this time, Du Enlai and the others also saw the city of the Buri tribe through the screen, and they were all shocked by this magnificent city. This is a huge city. It is built in a ring with the tallest building in the center as the center. The height decreases from the inside to the outside. It looks a bit like a round pyramid. It's just that this pyramid is really too big. After those battleships entered the city, Wang Feng hesitated for a moment, and then drove a small fighter plane close to the city. Anyway, the Buri tribe must have known about his arrival, so he did not have to conceal his whereabouts. However, Wang Feng was very cautious when approaching the city. Not only was the direction of the small fighter plane erratic, but he himself was also prepared to teleport out at any time. Just looking at the appearance of the city, you can tell that the city is definitely not simple. Although Wang Feng still doesn't know that the strongest point of the Buri tribe is the city's defense, he is still ready to escape at any time. Preparation. Sure enough, as Wang Feng approached the city, before reaching the maximum range of the small fighter plane, countless streams of light flew out of the city and rushed towards Wang Feng's small fighter plane. Moreover, the speed of these streamers was faster than those on the battleship. At such a long distance, Wang Feng had no time to react. He quickly teleported out of the fighter plane, and then amidst the explosion of the fighter plane, Wang Feng teleported several times in succession and left the city far away. Wang Feng, who was lucky enough to escape, first reported to Du Enlai and others that he was safe, and then looked at the distant city with some lingering fear. Just now, he suddenly felt a huge danger coming, so he immediately teleported out of the fighter plane. If it was he teleported after seeing those streamers attacking. I'm afraid Wang Feng has no bones left now. Unexpectedly, this city of the Bree tribe is much more terrifying than their battleships. Of course Wang Feng didn't know this. This was because the Buri tribe had always focused on defense and did not like to take the initiative to attack, because they did not need to plunder or acquire more territory, so those warships were only made by them in the early days to detect primitive star. Compared to their city, no matter what it is far different. The weapons on the battleship are basically the technology of the Buri people who don't know how many thousands of years ago. They have never been updated. Unexpectedly, Wang Feng was almost left here because of this. After destroying Wang Feng's small fighter plane, there were still many streamers in the city attacking Wang Feng, but because Wang Feng teleported all the way after getting out of the fighter plane, he was not harmed. Looking blankly at the city in the distance, Wang Feng suddenly felt that it seemed to be quite difficult for them to complete the killing mission at this level. Not to mention what other defenses the city has, even the weapons that destroyed his small fighter plane just now are enough to prevent them from entering the city. If these Bri people never come out again, then the human race will basically have nothing. No way to kill them, no chance at all. At this time, Du Enlai and the others were repeatedly watching the video of Wang Feng's small fighter plane being destroyed. Because Wang Feng had been connecting the video system of the small fighter plane to the defense fortress, the scenes before it was destroyed were all sent back. When they arrived at the defensive fortress, after knowing that Wang Feng was fine, Du Enlai and the others of course wanted to know what happened before. After playing the replay more than a dozen times, Du Enlai sighed softly, and Lu Feng and the others also looked quite unhappy. Because they discovered through slow playback that the large stream of light that had been shot at the small fighter plane was too fast for the small fighter plane to react. Even if it could react, it would be difficult to escape. Because those streamers directly covered an area near the small fighter plane. If Wang Feng hadn't had teleportation ability, he wouldn't have been able to escape even if he jumped out of the plane. They will all die under the streamers covering attack. Among the human race, Wang Feng seems to be the only one who can teleport. In other words, luckily it was Wang Feng who was driving the small fighter plane before. Anyone else would be dead. Maybe putting on a space battleship with an energy shield can support it for a while longer, but what's the use? Du Enlai and the others didn't believe that the city would have no energy shield. And seeing that Wang Feng was approaching with a small fighter plane just now, there were so many attacks in the city. It seemed that the opponent's energy must be very sufficient. If he wanted to use up their energy, it would be impossible to deal with them. Very feasible. For a moment, everyone in the defensive fortress was lost in thinking. They wanted to come up with a way to break through the city's defenses. As for Wang Feng, since he was fine before, there is no need to worry about him. After being prepared, Wang Feng, who has teleportation powers and a large amount of life energy, is basically difficult to kill. Wang Feng did not return immediately. He took out a small fighter plane again, circled half a circle far away, and then directly set the autopilot and let the small fighter plane fly towards the city of the Buri tribe. This small fighter was shot down again at a position about the same distance from the previous fighter to the city, and Wang Feng changed direction to continue the test. After losing 4 small fighters, Wang Feng finally gave up. He had discovered that these streams of light were emitted from the circular buildings in the city, that is, no matter which direction they attacked the city from, the firepower they faced was the same, and Wang Feng was very suspicious that these circular buildings were actually the emitters of those streams of light, and they should share energy in all directions. After thinking carefully, Wang Feng found that the human race seemed to have no way to break through the city of the Buri tribe. Even if they risked casualties to exchange for the city, it seemed impossible. The only feasible way was to drive the Yanhuang himself, directly use the energy shield to withstand the attack of the city, and then find a way to break it. This seemed to be the only way, but it was very risky. Because, one is that this requires a lot of life energy. If the city can be successfully destroyed, it's fine. If it fails, then the human race really has no ability to organize another attack. In addition, this must be done when the city's streamer fire attack does not exceed the tolerance limit of the Yanhuang's energy shield. Only in this way can Wang Feng resist the city's attack by consuming energy. Otherwise, the first concentrated fire will break the shield, and the Yanhuang will naturally be useless. So this method, Wang Feng can only regard this as the last way, and he can't choose to do this now. Wang Feng landed on the ground and approached the city little by little. Because there is no good way to break through the city now, Wang Feng can only hope to observe it closely to see if he can find any breakthrough. Anyway, he has teleportation, so if he is careful, there should be no problem. Wang Feng directly dug a hole in the ground to hide his figure, and approached the city in the form of digging a tunnel. At the same time, he was cautious and looked out from time to time to look at the city in front and estimate the distance. Wang Feng's nerves were all tense. If he was a little careless, he might be discovered by the Buyui people in the city. Even with teleportation, Wang Feng might die here. Fortunately, Wang Feng had Xianyuan space, so he did not carry any weapons or metal products. And because he had reached the peak of level 11, he could seal the life energy in his body without any leakage. Therefore, no matter it was a metal detector or a life detector, Wang Feng could not find him. If the Buyui people wanted to find Wang Feng, they could only rely on their own eyes, which undoubtedly made Wang Feng's actions much easier. When he was about 1,000 meters away from the edge of the city, Wang Feng dug down again for a safer distance, so that he was farther away from the ground, and then continued to dig forward. However, after reaching a distance of about 50 or 60 meters from the edge of the city, Wang Feng did not dare to dig anymore. He felt that the Buyui people would have alarm devices at the edge of their city, even underground. If he went forward, he would probably expose himself. So, Wang Feng began to dig upwards, and then he looked up to observe. He didn't know what materials the city of the Buyui tribe was built with, and Wang Feng didn't know if the alarm would be triggered if he dug from here to the bottom of the city wall. If he could attack the city from underground, it would be a good idea, but before that, he had to conduct a test first. Looking at the tunnel he dug, Wang Feng suddenly had an idea. He took out the communicator and said directly to it. Lazy eye. Let Lin Li. Forget it, you wait for me, or I'll go back. I think I should have a good way to help us break through the city. Afterwards, Wang Feng returned to the ground along the tunnel he dug, took out a small fighter, and flew towards the direction of the human fortress. Doomsday Special Forces. Author, Huanjing Chengzhu. Chapter 1078. When Wang Feng returned to the human fortress, he went directly to the central control hall, and the first person he looked for was Lin Li. Lin Li, gather your group of rats, I will put them into Xianyuan space, and then go dig a hole. Wang Feng said to Lin Li, and then turned to Duan Lei and explained. We can't get in from the air, so we will go underground, just like the method we prepared to use to deal with the goblins, we will dig a tunnel and get in. But now I don't know if they have any monitoring or defense systems underground, so I will take Lin Li to try it first. If his rats can dig a tunnel big enough for us to get in, I will contact you again, you should get ready at home first. Hearing Wang Feng's words, Duan Lei and others nodded. Now they have no other good way, so they have to let Wang Feng try first. Lin Li had already reached the outside of the defensive fortress. His rat army was usually scattered in the defensive fortress, but it was not a pleasant sight to see rats running all over the ground. So after reaching each floor, the rats would run directly outside and dig some caves underground to live in. By the way, they could also serve as guards around the defensive fortress. After Lin Li arrived outside, he summoned all the rats, and Wang Feng came out directly, collected the rats into Xianyuan space, and then drove a small fighter plane, took Lin Li, and returned to the tunnel he had dug before. Let's start. Let your rats dig in first. If you can dig to the center of the city, expand the tunnel. After Wang Feng put all the rats outside, he said to Lin Li. Okay. Lin Li nodded, then waved his hand, and all the rats dug directly into the ground, heading towards the bottom of the city of the Buyui tribe. In. When the first rat crossed the wall of the city of the Buyui tribe underground, Lin Li was delighted and quickly notified Wang Feng, but his face changed immediately. No. That guy suddenly lost connection with me. Wang Feng was stunned, because he knew that if Lin Li's summoned creature lost connection with him, it meant that the summoned creature was dead. Is there defense underground? Wang Feng frowned, then said. Keep going. Go in more. Okay. Lin Li nodded, then continued to wait, but after more than 20 minutes, Lin Li shook his head slightly and said. Some successfully dug in, and the mortality rate is about 2/3. Let your rats try to appear in the city and kill those Buyue people. Wang Feng sighed and said, he knew that his plan to break into the city from underground should be considered a failure. Apart from other things, just the 2/3 mortality rate alone, Wang Feng would never let the human race take the risk. Now he is pinning his hopes on those rats. The individual strength of the Buyue people is very poor. If the numerous mutant rats find the Buyue people, it seems that there will be no big problem in killing them. Well. Lin Li nodded. Although many of the rats had died, Lin Li was not too distressed. The reproduction capacity of rats was stronger than that of wild boars. Even if more than half of them died, they would recover in no time. Under Lin Li's control, the rat army quickly entered the city of the Buyue tribe. They came out from the ground one after another and then wantonly attacked any creature they saw. Because the rats didn't know what the Buyue people were looking for, they were in the city of the Buyue tribe anyway, and they would kill any activity they saw. However, the attack of the rat army was not smooth. Wang Feng didn't know that the members of the Buyue tribe all had a mechanical body to protect their own body, because he was at that time they suddenly appeared in the warship, and in order to control the warship, the two members of the Buyue tribe did not enter their armor. So Wang Feng did not have the opportunity to see them enter their armor, and the appearance of their armor was not much different from those robots, so even though he saw their two armors at the beginning, Wang Feng also took them away as robots standing there in a daze because they had no mission. So, when the rat army appeared in the city of the Buyue tribe, all the creatures they encountered were robots. Although the mutant rats had been strengthened, they were still powerless against the alloy used by the Buyue tribe to make robots, and they could not bite them at all. Alas! No. No results at all. After the rat army entered the city for a while, Lin Li shook his head and said. The city is full of robots, and the rats can't bite their bodies at all. Alas! Take them back. Wang Feng sighed and said, it seems that we have to think of other ways, this road is not feasible. Lin Li immediately called back his army of rats. When all the rats were recalled, Wang Feng was even more depressed. After just one experiment, Lin Li's rats were lost by more than half. After taking Lin Li back to the defense fortress, Wang Feng told everyone what happened, and then looked at everyone. Everyone think about it again and see if there is any good way. Lu Wanting, who was nestling next to Wang Feng, held Wang Feng's arm with one hand and stroked Rura's head lying on the side with the other. She had been listening to Wang Feng talk about what happened before. When Wang Feng said that everyone should continue to find a solution, Lu Wanting suddenly seemed to think of something, raised her head and looked at Wang Feng and asked. Wind. You said before that the rat army couldn't achieve any results because it couldn't bite the robots of the Bray tribe. Then you asked the Rat King to withdraw his troops, right? Because Lin Li's eyes are very small, basically whenever you see him, you will think that he is sleeping, and his face is pointed, a bit like a mouse, especially when he first appeared, he was accompanied by a large group of mice, so as early as when he arrived at the Hope Base, his name as the Rat King had already spread. Hearing Lu Wanting's words, Wang Feng didn't quite understand what she meant, but he nodded anyway. That means that not all the rats that entered the city died? Lu Wanting continued to ask. Yes. Have you withdrawn it? Wang Feng could only continue to nod, but Duan Lei on the side seemed to understand and continued. What Ting Ting means is that there seems to be no defense system inside the city. Otherwise, based on the momentum of the small fighter planes that attacked you in the city before, no matter how large the number of rats are, none of them will be able to withdraw. But Duan Lei then shook his head. But it's useless even if we know this. We can't get in at all. Wait for me. Lu Wanting suddenly stood up, left a few words, and left the central control hall with Rura. What did she think of? Wang Feng looked at Duan Lei. How do I know? Duan Lei has a black line on his end. What do you think your wife is thinking, you ask me? Fortunately, Lu Wanting came back not long after. What was surprising was that Lu Wanting came back carrying a tree. Everyone naturally knew that the tree on her shoulder was Wang Feng's mutated willow tree, but why carry it over? Hasn't it always been planted at the center of the defensive fortress, as the last line of defense for the human race? Feng. I think we can hand over the city of the Bree tribe to these two guys. Lu Wanting put the mutated willow tree down to the ground very fiercely, and then said that the two guys she was talking about were naturally the mutated willow tree and the mutated beehive. Because they were fused with the ultimate life stone, both the willow tree and the beehive can now control the body. The size of the mutated hive is now directly settled in the trunk of the willow tree. They, Wang Feng, Duan Lei, and others were a little confused. Lu Wanting nodded and said, I have nothing to do during this period, so I have been taking Rura with these two guys, so I have learned a lot about their changes and abilities. After fusing the ultimate raw stone, they are actually very powerful now, but, because of the wind and the Hope Expeditionary Force, it is basically not their turn to take action. Hearing Lu Wanting's words, everyone was stunned and couldn't help but remember that when she was remodeling the defensive fortress, Lu Wanting had to plant the mutated willow tree in the middle of the defensive fortress, and also asked the goblins to leave enough space for the willow tree to grow in size. And also said that he wanted to leave the last line of defense for humanity. No one understood it at the time, but Wang Feng didn't dare to object anyway, and others, it doesn't matter if there are more trees anyway, it beautifies the environment, purifies that fortress. Let her be. Now after hearing Lu Wanting's words, everyone knew that the willow tree had other functions or abilities that had not been shown to them. Wind. For a city like the Buri tribe with extremely strong external defenses but poor internal defenses, I think, Little Willow will definitely be able to handle it easily. As long as it enters that city and has the characteristics of the ultimate raw stone of life, pray the people of the tribe can't kill it. Lu Wanting saw that Wang Feng seemed a little suspicious, so she couldn't help but start to persuade. But, how do I put it in the city of the Bree tribe? Wang Feng smiled bitterly and shook his head. Although those rats can get in, I am not sure. If I am attacked underground, I will not dare to teleport blindly. Haha. I knew you would say that. Hearing Wang Feng's words, Lu Wanting laughed instead, and then said with a mysterious face. Do you think they need you to send them in? As long as you put Xiaoliu in the tunnel you mentioned before, it will go in by itself. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Doomsday Special Forces. Author, Huanjing Chengzhu. Chapter 1079. Will it go in by itself? Wang Feng and others were shocked. Of course. Lu Wanting smiled slightly, pointed at the mutant willow tree and said. Feng. Trust me, just take it to the tunnel, and then you just wait and watch the show. By the way, you'd better bring a few strong people, not too many, and wait for Xiaolu and Mimi to show their power, and then you can take advantage of the chaos to kill in, you will definitely be able to do it. Old Lu. Bring 10,000 soldiers, we will go in together. We must have the strongest soldiers. After thinking about it, Wang Feng turned to Lu Feng and said, Lu Feng hesitated for a moment, then nodded and agreed. A few hours later, Wang Feng and Lu Feng had come to the tunnel that Wang Feng had dug before. Looking at the tunnel he dug, Wang Feng looked at Lu Feng, then took the willow tree out and threw it into the tunnel. After the willow tree landed on the ground, it did not grow up, but just tried to take root downwards, and then there was no reaction. However, Wang Feng was not in a hurry. He just signaled Lu Feng and the 10,000 expeditionary soldiers he brought with him to hide and not be discovered by the Buyui people. In order to prevent the metal on their bodies from being detected, everyone's weapons are now with Wang Feng. On the way here, Wang Feng had already asked clearly that the mutant willow tree could indeed enter the city, and when it entered the city, it would be difficult for the Buyui people to kill it. After fusing with the ultimate life stone, the mutant willow tree's regeneration ability was quite strong. As long as there was a section of rhizome left and it was given enough time, it would be able to recover slowly. As for entering the city, it was another skill of it. The mutant willow tree could now transfer its body to the place where its rhizome reached. In other words, as long as its roots spread from the ground to the city, it could also enter the city. And this method of the mutant willow tree was much safer than the army of rats. How many rhizomes did the willow tree have? And these rhizomes could regenerate. Even if they were attacked, they could grow another one, so the Buyui people could not stop it at all. However, the willow tree is not invincible now. For example, Wang Feng's Xianyuan sword, the innate ability of instructor Li Yingning, and the destructive power of Qiu Jian can all completely destroy it. However, for a purely technological race like the Buyui tribe, it is really difficult to defend against the mutant willow tree. About half an hour later, the willow tree sent a message to Wang Feng that its roots had penetrated into the center of the city. Although the previous attack by the rat army had made the Buyui tribe wary of the underground and increased the intensity of monitoring, this time it was the mutant willow tree that broke in. There were no intelligent plant-like creatures on the primitive star, so the Buyui tribe certainly never thought of defending against plants. In addition, the roots of the mutant willow tree went deep underground, so until now, the Bri tribe has not felt the danger coming quietly. Lin Li. Wang Feng looked at Lin Li, and Lin Li understood. He immediately let his group of rats rush into the city again and began to attack the robots. Although he knew that these rats could not cause any harm to the robots, they just wanted to create some chaos and buy some time for the willow tree to move over. The rats were ready. After receiving Lin Li's order, they immediately rushed into the city again and then drilled out from the ground. Although the rats suffered heavy losses, they were all summoned by Lin Li and did not know what to be afraid of. They still rushed to the robots one after another. The Bri tribe was busy dealing with the rats. Although these rats seemed unable to hurt them, they were outsiders after all, and they had to be eliminated anyway. And they also knew that this was definitely done by the human race, because in the Endless Tower, there were no original creatures on each floor except the Guardian race. Therefore, while they desperately killed the rats, they were also careful to guard against the human race. In fact, they already knew that the reconnaissance technology of the Bri tribe was much stronger than Wang Feng and his team had imagined. It was just that the place was beyond the range of the Bri tribe, and their warships were almost destroyed, so the Bri tribe did not take the initiative to attack. Although they could also send a large army of robots to attack from the ground, the previous battle had already frightened the Bri tribe. Therefore, the Bri tribe had decided to defend in their own city. No matter what humans did, as long as they did not attack their city, they would ignore it. However, the Buyui tribe only focused on the mice and the humans outside, but did not notice that in the center of their city, a small sapling was breaking out of the ground. The mutant willow tree moved its body very quickly. It took only more than 10 minutes for it to successfully move its body to the city of the Buyui tribe. However, the mutant willow tree did not immediately enlarge its body at this time, but continued to spread its roots to the underground of the entire city. The willow tree did this to help Wang Feng take over the city more safely. To be honest, since following Wang Feng, this willow tree and the beehive have really gained a lot of benefits, but it seems that they have not contributed much. Although they are plants and insects, after fusing the ultimate rough stone of life, willow, and the mutated queen bee have also gained some sanity. At least, they feel that this time they should prove to their masters that they are useful and not just taken by others. The benefits. Especially now that the damn cat is not here, the two of them have to show off. The cat is the one who follows its owner the most, and it also saved the life of the mistress. Therefore, when these three mutant creatures are together, when it comes to food, Rura is always the leader. And this battle is their chance to make a comeback. The willow tree continues to take root downwards, and as for the mutant queen bee, it has long been hiding among the roots of the mutant willow tree. Now after merging the original stone, the mutant queen bee is no longer what it used to be, but it cannot be as abnormal as the mutant willow tree. If the mutant queen bee is attacked and falls, it will be completely dead, so the mutant queen bee must now hide yourself. As for the beehive, it is still hidden in the trunk of the willow tree. When the willow tree takes root and grows larger, and enters the fighting form, its hive will also grow larger, and the bees inside will come out to attack the beehive. Enemies in the city. Anyway, as long as the queen bee doesn't die, it doesn't matter if the entire mutant hive is gone and it can recover. Therefore, for this battle, these two mutant creatures are full of confidence, at least they themselves are not in any danger. That's it. Lin Li, take back your rat pack. When the roots of the willow tree had covered almost the entire bottom of the city, the willow tree finally sent a signal to Wang Feng to start attacking immediately, and Wang Feng immediately asked Lin Li to take back his group of rats. Lin Li received the order and immediately sent out a message. As a result, the rat tide in the city receded in an instant, leaving behind a messy city with rat corpses all over the ground, making the city look like art in the apocalyptic era. The cities on Landis are somewhat similar. The robots did not stop. After the tide of rats receded, they began to clean up the corpses of these rats. Although the Buri people could also use the corpses of these rats as food, it seems that they have no such plan yet. However, after the rat tide receded, several robots were cleaning up the rat corpses and discovered a willow tree about the thickness of a child's arm and nearly 2 meters high. The antennas on the heads of these robots moved. I didn't know what instructions I should execute for a while. Generally speaking, if you find an enemy, you will naturally sound the alarm immediately, but, is a tree considered an enemy? There are also plants on the primitive star. Although the Buri people have no environmental awareness and there is not a single plant in the entire city, the data of all the plants on the primitive star are stored in the brains of these robots. However, there are no plants in their city. Where did this tree come from? Because the Buri people had never thought that such a situation would occur in their city, the instructions set for these robots did not include what should I do if I find a plant in the city, an order, so these robots actually froze after seeing the mutated willow tree. Because they are working hard to figure out how to proceed to the next step. This is the shortcoming of robots. If it is artificial intelligence, it will either be removed directly, because there are no plants in our cities, and if they are removed, there will still be no plants. Not considered a violation. Or just ask their masters directly. Anyway, it is very convenient for these robots to contact their masters. As for how to deal with it, don't they only need the orders conveyed by their masters? It's a pity that these robots can only follow the preset programs of their own chips. When encountering a situation that has not been set, they will not be able to proceed to the next step. Therefore, after these robots were in a daze, robots passing by continued to join their queue, and more robots gathered together until they were discovered by the Bray people. When the Bray tribe saw the battle was over, they quickly went to study the human race's intentions, because they originally thought that the human race would take advantage of the rats to cause trouble and launch an attack from outside. However, now that the rats have retreated, the humans still have nothing to do. The movement was still gathering outside their city, not knowing what they were waiting for. What's this? Several Buri people noticed that the robots were gathered together, so they asked them to get out of the way, and then walked in. When they saw the willow tree, they couldn't help but froze. Doomsday Special Forces. Author, Huanjing Chengzhu. Chapter 1080. The arriving Buri tribesmen were all in their own armor, so they were very assured of their own safety. Besides, this was just a small tree, but what they were very surprised about was how the sky grew here. As soon as they appeared, they felt the mutated willow trees with life fluctuations in these robots. Their bodies suddenly swayed, and then suddenly surged. Huh? What is this? Several Buri tribesmen were stunned, but before they could figure out what to do next, the willow tree had suddenly turned into a giant, and the dense willow branches seemed to have turned into thousands of ropes, surrounding it. The robots, including the Bray tribesmen, all got entangled. The Buri people did not expect that a small tree with a height of 2 meters could suddenly become so big and aggressive. This was completely different from the science they had always focused on. Even genetic mutations did not change so quickly. Yes. Fortunately, they are all staying in their own cars. Since the metal of the fuselage is made of alloys carefully crafted by them, the branches of the willow tree can only tie them up and restrict their movements. At least for now, they are nothing life-threatening. And they naturally had some weapons with them, and of course they immediately took them out to cut the branches of the willow tree. Under their orders, the robots also began to think of ways to break free from the branches that tied them. However, they soon discovered that they seemed to underestimate the willow tree. Although these willow branches were very thin, they were as flexible as a wall. It was difficult for them to break off the willow branches that bound them, even if they tried desperately. A few branches were broken, but the broken willow branch would recover in an instant. Even the broken willow branch would grow upward immediately after falling to the ground and wrap around again. The situation here immediately alarmed the entire Buri tribe, and they began to mobilize their troops in large quantities. During these long years, except for the use of all their resources to build their own city, all the rest it's used to make robots. Therefore, although the Buri tribe has less than 10,000 members, the number of robots has reached more than 100 million. This is a quite scary number. Under the summons of the Buri tribe, countless robots poured out of the city's buildings and gathered towards the place where the willow tree's body was. Now the willow tree's body is quite conspicuous in the city, with its huge body and the sky. The flying branches make the willow tree look quite majestic at this time. As the willow tree showed its power, a large swarm of bees also flew out of the mutant hive. The number of mutant bees exceeded 1 billion, covering the sky and the sun, and after some experiments, the mutant queen bee actually discovered that these mutant bees of hers, the venom, can actually corrode the bodies of those robots. Therefore, those robots controlled by the willow tree were unlucky. Since they could not move, they could only watch the mutated bees fall on their bodies, and then drip venom on their bodies, corroding a big hole in their bodies. And then these mutated bees will use their mouthparts to penetrate deep into their bodies, sucking out all their power life energy like collecting honey. However, these robots are lucky, because they are robots and do not know fear at all. When the Bray people saw this situation, they were scared crazy. The material of the mechanical shell they were riding on was the same as that of these robots. It's the same, that is to say, after these bees appear, their lives seem to be almost over. Of course, the mutant bees will not give special treatment to these robots with brains just because they are the leaders or masters of other robots. They will also first apply venom to corrode them, and then extend their mouthparts to gather honey. However, these robots with the Buri people inside were not as suckable as the previous robots. As soon as their mouthparts were inserted, they were bitten off by the Buri people inside. The teeth of the Buri tribe are actually very sharp. The mutated bee that was severely injured was naturally furious. It flew up and turned its butt towards the Buri people inside, which was like a poisonous stinger. The venom could corrode even the robot bones that the Buri people were proud of. Of course, it was not the Bray people. The weak bodies of the tribesmen could bear it. Almost as soon as the needle was injected, the Bray tribesmen inside died immediately. With the death of the tribe, the entire city of the Bray tribe has really mobilized. Countless robots are using various methods to destroy the willow tree. But now that the willow tree has taken root, those robots cannot. There's nothing you can do about it. Seeing this situation, the Bray tribe finally began to panic. They stopped paying attention to the humans gathered outside and began to use all their strength to deal with the mutated willow trees and mutated bees that were raging in their city. Especially those mutated bees, after discovering the effects of their venom, have begun to attack their airtight buildings, corroding the buildings with holes. Then, the branches of the mutated willow trees will follow these holes and hide in the buildings. Entangled by the Buri tribesmen, and then killed by mutated bees. When the Bure people found that their people began to die in large numbers, they finally removed the city's energy shield and began to attack the willows and bees with their unique weapon, the streamer. In fact, their streamer can attack the interior of the city, but when doing so, they need to remove the city's shield first, so that their city loses protection. Generally speaking, this is a measure taken only after the city's energy shield is broken, but this time the attack came from inside them, not from the outside as they had imagined before. However, when the Bure people attacked the willows and bees, they were a little hesitant at first, because the branches of the mutant willows were all entangled with their people or robots. If they attacked with streamers, it would be easy to destroy them all. Therefore, their main target was all on the mutant bees. After all, these bees flying in the air were still some distance away from their people. As for those who had already landed on their people's vehicles, he was dead anyway, so whoever was killed was not killed. As a result, the mutant bees died in large numbers, and the number of streamers of the Burui tribe was quite terrifying. For others, it might be difficult to concentrate on the flying bees. At this time, Wang Feng and his men had already known the situation inside, and were heading towards the city of the Burui tribe from the tunnel. They did not use small fighters, which would make them targets of the Burui tribe. Especially now, this large area in the center of the city of the Burui tribe has long been in chaos, and it is a good time for them to fish in troubled waters. Just when the Burui tribe mobilized all their forces to attack the mutant willows and mutant bees frantically, Wang Feng and his men appeared in the city. They did not directly join the battlefield, but directly dispersed and mixed into the city's buildings. Because of the destruction of the mutant bees, the buildings in the central area of the Burui city have long been riddled with holes, so it is easy for the soldiers of the expeditionary force to enter. Their purpose was simple: to kill all the people of the Burui tribe that they saw. As for the robots, since Wang Feng had already told them the location of the energy storage of these robots, and those robots were all of the same model, it was not very difficult for the expeditionary soldiers to kill these robots. Wang Feng directly teleported into the building in the center, and then began to search for the people of the Burui tribe inside. However, this building was very strange, because it seemed that this building was specially prepared for the Burui tribe. The lower half was okay, it was considered a normal building, but the upper half was all very small passages, just like ventilation ducts, and Wang Feng couldn't get in at all. Although he had teleportation, the place where he teleported needed to have enough space to accommodate his body, otherwise he couldn't teleport there. Although Wang Feng knew that there must be some spacious places between these passages, because the Burui tribe couldn't all live in the passages, their rooms would definitely not be too small. Wang Feng didn't believe that they wouldn't even have a meeting room. But Wang Feng didn't know the direction at all, and the defense of these passages was also very strong. As soon as Wang Feng approached, two streams of light flew out directly. Even though Wang Feng felt something was wrong and teleported directly, he was not able to completely avoid it, and his left arm was still melted by the stream of light. After being hit by the stream of light, Wang Feng really understood the power of these streams of light. He was only hit by the elbow, but if he hadn't reacted quickly and cut off his left arm directly with the Xianyuan sword, I'm afraid his whole body would have been melted. Watching his two arms falling on the ground and melting quickly, Wang Feng was still in shock, and quickly sent an alarm to others through the communicator, asking them not to approach the upper floors of the building in the center. Fortunately, Wang Feng was the first to arrive. If it were those expeditionary soldiers, there might be casualties. After hearing Wang Feng's order, the expeditionary force dispersed and went to other buildings to search for their prey. Instructors Li Yingning, Qiu Jian, Xiao Wu, Lu Feng, Tang Haoshan, and others came to Wang Feng's location, preparing to find a way to attack the last nest of the Buyue tribe.